I told the wretched soul I would fulfill and execute to the utmost point his will, and all the time we sadly talked, I still my sword above the blood held, when aside the idol of my friend still amplified his plaint, as up and down the shades he erred. Then my deceased mother's soul appeared, fair daughter of Autolycus the great, grave Anticleia, whom, when forth I set for sacred Ilion, I had left alive. Her sight much moved me, and to tears did drive my note of her decease. And yet not she, though in my ruth she held the highest degree, would I admit to touch the sacred blood, till from Tiresias I had understood what Circe told me. At the length did lend Theban Tiresias' soul, and in his hand sustained a golden sceptre, knew me well, and said, O man unhappy, why to hell admitt'st thou the dark arrival, and the light the sun givest leavest, to have the horrid sight of this black region and the shadows here? Now sheathe thy sharp sword, and the pit forbear, that I the blood may taste, and then relate the truth of those acts that affect thy fate. I sheathed my sword, and left the pit, till he, the black blood testing, thus instructed me. Renowned Ulysses, all unasked I know that all the cause of thy arrival now is to inquire thy wished retreat for home, which hardly God will let thee overcome, since Neptune still will his opposure try, with all his laid-up anger, for the eye his loved son lost to thee. And yet, through all thy suffering course, which must be capital, if both thine own affections and thy friends thou wilt contain, when thy access ascends the three-forked island, having scaped the seas, where ye shall find fed on the flowery leaves fat flocks and oxen, which the sun doth own, to whom are all things as well heard as shown, and never dare one head of those to slay, but hold unharmful on your wished way, though through enough affliction, yet secure your fate shall lend ye, but presage say sure. If once ye spoil them, spoil to all thy friends, spoil to thy fleet, and if the justice ends short of thyself, it shall be long before, and that length forced out with infliction store, when losing all thy fellows in a sail of foreign built, when most thy fates prevail in thy deliverance, thus the event shall sort, thou shalt find shipwreck raging in thy port, proud men thy goods consuming, and thy wife urging with gifts, give charge upon thy life. But all these wrongs revenge shall end to thee, and force or cunning set with slaughter free the house of all thy spoilers. Yet again thou shalt a voyage make, and come to men that know no sea, nor ships, nor oars that are wings to a ship, nor mix with any fair, salt, savory vapour. Where thou first shalt land, this clear given sign shall let thee understand that there those men remain. Assume ashore, up to thy royal shoulder, a ship oar, with which, when thou shalt meet one on the way, that will in country admiration say, What dost thou with that wand upon thy neck? There fix that wand thy oar, and that shore deck with sacred rites to Neptune. Slaughter there a ram, a bull, and, who for strength doth bear the name of husband to a herd, a boar. And coming home upon thy natural shore, give pious hecatombs to all the gods, degrees observed. And then the periods of all thy labours in the peace shall end of easy death, which shall the leaves extend his passion to thee, that thy foe the sea shall not enforce it, but death's victory shall chance in only earnest prayed vowed age, obtained at home, quite emptied of his rage. Thy subjects round about thee rich and blessed, and here hath truth summed up thy vital rest. I answered him, We will suppose all these decreed in deity. Let it likewise please Tiresias to resolve me, why so near the blood in me my mother's soul doth bear, and yet nor word nor look vouchsafe her son. Doth she not know me? No, said he, nor none of all these spirits but myself alone knows anything till he shall taste the blood. But whomsoever you shall do that good, he will the truth of all you wish unfold. Who you envy it to will all withhold. Thus said the kingly soul, and made retreat amidst the inner parts of Pluto's seat. When he had spoke thus by divine instinct, still I stood firm, till to the blood's precinct my mother came, and drunk, and then she knew I was her son, had passion to renew her natural plaints, which thus she did pursue. How is it, O my son, that you alive this deadly darksome region underdive, twixt which and earth so many mighty seas and horrid currents interpose their prees, Oceanus in chief, which none, unless more help than you on foot now can transgress. A well-built ship he needs that ventures there. Comest thou from Troy but now, enforced to err all this time with thy soldiers? Nor hast seen, ere this long day, thy country and thy queen? I answered, 'Tis a necessary end to this infernal state made me contend, that from the wise Tiresias' Theban soul I might an oracle involved unroll. For I came nothing near Achaia yet, nor on our loved earth happy foot had set, but mishaps suffering, erred from coast to coast, ever since first the mighty Grecian host divine Atrides led to Ilion, and I, his follower, to set war upon the rapeful Trojans. And so prayed she would the fate of that ungentle death unfold that forced her thither. If some long disease, or that the spleen of her that arrows pleased, Diana, envious of most eminent dames, had made her the object of her deadly aims. My father's state and sons I sought, if they kept still my goods, or they became the prey of any other, holding me no more in power of safe return, or if my store my wife had kept together with her son, if she had first mind held, or had been won by some chief Grecian for my love and bed. All this she answered, that affliction fed on her blood still at home, and that to grief she all the days and darkness of her life in tears had consecrate, that none possessed my famous kingdom's throne, but the interest my son had in it, still he held in peace, a court kept like a prince, and his increase spent in his subjects' good, administering laws with justice, and the general applause a king should merit, and all called him king. My father kept the upland, laboring, and shunned the city, used no sumptuous beds, wondered at furnitures, nor wealthy weeds, but in the winter, strewed about the fire, lay with his slaves in ashes, his attire like to a beggar's. When the summer came, and autumn all fruits ripened with his flame, where grape-charged vines made shadows most abound, his couch with fallen leaves made upon the ground, and here lay he, his sorrow's fruitful state increasing as he faded for my fate. And now the part of age that irksome is laid sadly on him, and that life of his she led and perished in, nor slaughtered by the dame that darts loved, and her archery, nor by disease invaded, vast and foul, that wastes the body, and sends out the soul with shame and horror. Only in her moan, for me and my life, she consumed her own. She thus, when I had great desire to prove my arms the circle where her soul did move, thrice proved I, thrice she vanished like a sleep, or fleeting shadow, which struck much more deep the wounds my woes made, and made ask her why she would my love to her embraces fly, and not vouchsafe that even in hell we might pay pious nature her unaltered right, and give vexation here her cruel fill. Should not the queen here, to augment the ill of every sufferance which her office is, enforce thy idol to afford me this? O son, she answered, of the race of men the most unhappy, our most equal queen will mock no solid arms with empty shade, nor suffer empty shades again to invade flesh, bones, and nerves, nor will defraud the fire of his last dews, that, soon as spirits expire and leave the white bone, are his native right, when, like a dream, the soul assumes her flight. The light, then, of the living with most haste, O son, contend to. This thy little taste of this state is enough, and all this life will make a tale fit to be told thy wife. This speech we had, when now repaired to me more female spirits, by Persephone driven on before her, all the heroes' wives and daughters that led their second lives, about the black blood thronged, of whom yet more my mind impelled me to inquire, before I let them all together taste the gore. For then would all have been dispersed, and gone thick as they came. I therefore one by one let taste the pit, my sword drawn from my thigh, and stand betwixt them made, when severally all told their stocks. The first that quenched her fire was Tyro, issued of a noble sire. She said she sprung from pure Salmoneus' bed, and Tiresias, son of Aeolus, did wed. Yet the divine flood Enipeus loved, who much the most fair stream of all floods moved, near whose streams Tyro walking Neptune came like Enipeus, and enjoyed the dame. Like to a hill, the blue and snaky flood above the immortal and the mortal stood, and hid them both, as both together lay, just where his currents fall into the sea. Her virgin waist dissolved, she slumbered then, but when the god had done the work of men, her fair hand gentle wringing, thus he said, Woman, rejoice in our combined bed, for when the year hath run his circle round, because the gods' loves must in fruit abound, my love shall make, to cheer thy teeming moans, thy one dear burden bear two famous sons. Love well and bring them up. Go home and see that, though of more joy, yet I shall be free. Thou dost not tell to glorify thy birth. Thy love is Neptune, shaker of the earth. This said, he plunged into the sea, and she begot with child by him the light let see great Peleus, and Neleus, that became in Jove's great ministry of mighty fame. Peleus in Brodialcus held his throne, wealthy in cattle. The other royal son ruled sandy Pylos. To these issue more this queen of women to her husband bore, Aeson and Pheres and Amithion, that for his fight on horseback stooped to none.